everyone, Abby here at Purple Cottage Crafts, and welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. So this one is going to be all about how I kind of prepare my tea bags to use in my different projects. So quite a while back, goodness, I think even last year, I did some videos on some different tea bag journals and folios and tuck spots and tags, and I did some slow stitching on them. I will link those videos below. I think I have a playlist for them, but this is just a few of the ones that I have shared before. So when I did those videos, I had gotten some comments and some emails and a couple messages on my Purple Cottage Crafts Facebook public page about, how do I, prepare my tea bags to use in projects like that, because I think a lot of people probably just have their tea and they toss the bag, and then they see that you can turn it into something like this and they're just like, oh, well, how did you do that? So this is not anything that is obviously earth-shattering. I mean, it's the same thing that everybody on the planet has done since the dawn of time. Well, since tea bags have existed, I should say. So I'm just going to share with you what I do, plus I need to get this done, and it'll give me a chance just to kind of gab with you guys for a little bit too. So in my one of my vintage industrial units that I have in front of me, I have just kind of tossed some different tea bag items in here. These are ones I got from Amazon that I have not used yet, or they're brand new because you can put your own loose tea in them. But these are all what I have left, except for that's why I need to kind of harvest these because I'm getting low of what from the last batch I did of different tea bags and stuff from projects. And so I just kind of tossed them in here, and so I have this off to the side so I can add to that as we go along. So I also in the past I've always like, what do you do with the tea that's inside the bags when it's a tea bag that's been drank or used, what I'm trying to say, or you've just used it for tea dyeing paper, things of that nature, fabrics and stuff, like, what do you do with that? Well, you can toss it if you want to, and I used to do that before, but what I've been doing now is I've been saving it, and I just mix it all together. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't need to separate, lemon ginger tea from a I don't know, a mint tea or whatever, because I'm just going to use it as another mixture of tea elements and whatnot that I can use when I want to dye, like fabrics, and use it for different types of eco printing and eco dyeing. So that's what I do with these. I just kind of put them in here, and I'm gonna need to get some larger ones, but I emptied a few other ones out, so I have 3 empty because I have quite a few. Now, I don't try to keep every single speck of it. I mean, I try to get out as much as I can, but I'm not, I don't try to get every single, I mean, you never could. I mean, as you can tell from these, I mean, unless you're like taking a little, like a archaeologist would do with a little brush, and you're painting, brushing everything off. But it doesn't bother me, but it is dry, so sometimes if I don't want as much, I can just brush it off with my finger. So I try not to get too caught up in trying to make sure every bit of leaf is gone. So, which is hard because I have OCDs, but I gotta move on. So these tea bags here that I have out are the most recent collection that I have from the kitchen, and they're just a variety from me doing different tea dye projects for fabrics and papers, when I make tea in one of my little teapots, and then I pour it into my cup type of thing. So I just kind of keep all of these and collect them until I get a fairly good amount that I need to start go ahead and processing. So these are all dry. Like, I lay them out flat on the plate that I use, and then I let those, they dry, and then I put some more on top and whatever. That's kind of how I do that. So these are all dry, which makes it easier for me. I know some people like to do it when it's wet, which is fine too. It's just kind of a preference. I just find it easier when they're dry. So I don't have like any real scientific way or anything how I do this, but I'm just going to kind of separate out the ones that are in this kind of meshy triangle tea bag. I'm going to separate those out because I am going to be cutting those open a little bit differently than I will the ones that are, the normal tea bags like this. And if you hear any footstep noise, my husband is directly upstairs in my other craft room, and he's finishing up some you know, just some, what's what I'm looking for, Abby? Where are your words today? He's finishing up some last minute stuff on one of the finishing pieces he's doing for me to move in. So if you hear that, I apologize. But I also have tea bags that look like this too. So I just, you know, I drink all kinds of tea and use all different kinds of tea. So I'm going to go ahead and get these separated out, and then I'll come back on and we'll just chit chat, and I'll just kind of show you, you know, what I do with mine and how I prepare them to use in projects like I shared with you just a moment ago. So I will see you all in just a minute. Okay, so as you saw, I was just going through and separating, and the ones that are tangled up together, they're usually not this bad. Like this is all tangled together because I just have so many that I really should have taken care of this quite a while ago. I just cut the string off, the tea bag string, because I can stitch back on my own if I choose to do it. And the ones that were not tangled, I just leave the tag on there and the string. So not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this jar. And all I'm doing is, let me zoom in just a little bit more, is just, like I said, what everybody else does, you know. But I did have people a while back ask me, so that's why I wanted to take the time to do a little video about it, which is also going to help me with getting this process taken care of. So I will sometimes like grab this and just kind of run my fingers over like this, the netting part, because sometimes the tea leaves will stick to that, and so I will just kind of do that and just kind of get them down, you know, just like what you do when you open like a packet of, you know, gravy mix or seasoning mix or something like that, just kind of getting the contents down to the bottom. You can, if you choose, you can just snip like a little corner like that if you want to just have a little tiny opening, and you can also just go across the whole top here if you want to do that. Kind of depends. I don't really have a preference with these because I tend to, with this shape, because it's a triangle, I tend to cut it out where it's flat anyway. But for, you know, today's purposes, I'm just going to, along the seam here where they close the bag, I'm just going to do a, you know, a little snip, and then I'm just cutting along the seam, and I'm just, that's it. This is what I do. And I dump it into whatever container, or like I said, if you want to, you know, toss it, or I know people use coffee grounds and stuff in their gardens. I don't know if you can, or if, I don't know if tea bags are good for that. But if, you know, that might be a way. And my husband's right outside my window talking on the phone. So if you hear that, because I have my window open, because it's a warm day today, but it's also a gorgeous day today. So, but anyway, so that's kind of what I do there. And then the ones that have the tag attached with the string, I just leave it on. I don't mess with it unless it becomes too tangled. A lot of these are going to come off because there's no way I'm going to sit there and spend time doing that. And then the ones that are attached, they just look like this. And so these are really with the string attached, I meant to say. So that's all I do. And then, you know, you can come in here if you want with your finger and get more out if you don't want quite so much of the tea leaves left in there. But that's why I keep mine in something that's solid. So you could use a tote, a bowl, you know, any type of food container, like Dollar Tree, you know, the different food lock, like the Ziploc brand, or I think Glad brand too. I think I've seen those before too. So, or whatever you want. You could use old canning jars. I mean, these aren't old, but you could use whatever container you want. That way you don't have to worry about having a bunch of loose tea leaves everywhere, if you choose to take the time to do this. So I just leave it like that, and I just toss it in my little drawer that I showed you guys. So that's really all that I do. I will share, you know, I'll do one on the other tea bag just in case you want to see the process on those. It's a little bit different. So there's that one. So there we go. And like this one here, for example, I'm just going to cut the tag because it is way too tangled up. So for this one, all I'm doing is, as you can see how that looks, I'm just going to carefully pull this up. Sometimes I'll cut the string, sometimes I just pull it up and let it tear, because that's just part of it. It just depends on, you know, I guess really what kind of mood I'm in that day that I'm processing these, so to speak. And then I just take that apart and then I open it like that, and then you have this nice long tea bag that you can use as a substrate for whatever kind of craft project you want to use it for, art project or whatever. And then I just open up one end and then get my container, and then I just kind of dump it in there. So then I just kind of rub it together, the sides together, to get as much of the tea, loose tea out that I possibly can. And it's probably not helpful that I have my fan across from me. So I'm trying to do this inside so I don't get sprayed with tea leaves. So, but there's that. And so, and I'll just leave it like it is. I won't cut it. I won't do anything else because I want to have it in my stash. So I have the option to use it in a variety of ways, like I shared in these projects here. So that's how I do that one. And these are the type of tea bags, because I did have somebody ask me where I found this type. Celestial Seasonings is the first one I can think of. I think Bigelow might, but I know majority of mine are the Celestial Seasoning ones, and they're in a box, and then when you open it up, it's got like this waxy parchment paper, and you open that part up, and these kind don't come individually wrapped, at least the ones that I purchased, and they're stuck together. There's like a perforation, and then you can, you know, if you want to use two bags, like the set together, you just toss it into your teapot or your dye bath. But I always just use one at a time, and I just tear along that perforation gently, and then I just have an individual tea bag. So, but I, you know, because I know some people had asked me about that because they weren't familiar with this type of a tea bag. So I love tea. I drink tea every single day. I love coffee too, but I also drink tea every single day. So for this one, again, it just depends. I'll just pick a side and I'll just cut it along the side and leave it attached, because I can use that. I can collage it onto something else, or you can toss it if you're not as anal retentive as I am and want to keep every scrap of everything on the planet. But and I just dump it in there, and sometimes I'll make just a little slit in the corner and pour it out, so I have more of a top if I want to keep this covered more. So it just kind of depends on, you know, what project I'm working on. And that's really it, you guys. It's nothing, you know, like I said, earth-shattering. I'm not implying that this is, nobody else ever does this. Nobody else ever opens a tea bag. That's not what I'm saying. But I did have some people a while back ask me, and I always meant to do it, and then when I would work on it, I just, you know, didn't feel like recording, or I just wanted to get it done type of thing. But I really need to get this under control, because I have some, you know, it's getting kind of full on the kitchen counter, and I also need to process them because I want to replenish my stash, because I want to use them for some projects. So I just dump it all together, like I said, and then when I want to do, you know, an eco dye bath or papers or anything like that, then I have this mixture that I can use. And so another question might be, well, how do you use this in, like, if you're dyeing paper or fabric and you don't want to have all the individual tea leaves on the paper or fabric? And so that's another reason why I purchased this bundle of these tea bags, because I can craft with them, but I can also, when I want to use this, you know, mixture, I can dump it in here, and then I've just created another tea bag essentially, and I cinched it up, and then I can just drop it in my dye bath. So that's how I'm going to do that. And then when I'm done with that, I'll empty this one, and this one's going to be all lovely and tea stained, and I can use it in a different project. So kind of, you know, recycling itself, if that makes any sense. So I just wanted to do that real quick. Like I said, it's a real quick video, and just kind of share, because I did have some people ask me, and I promised that I would do it, and it's been several months and now I'm finally doing it. So I hope this is helpful to anybody who's never worked with tea bags in this context. Hopefully answer some questions. Just a couple of tips too, in case, like I said, if you're new to using tea bags in your art projects, you want to make sure that whenever, like, you know, if you have like 15 tea bags because you're making, you know, a couple big batches of sun tea, or you're doing like a massive batch of tea dyeing fabric or paper or something, you know, what I try to do is I lay mine out like flat, like either on a piece of parchment paper, maybe a paper sack from the grocery store. You could do it on a paper plate, whatever it is you want to do, or just on your table. And I lay them out flat till they dry, because if you have them stacked and bunched together, they will mold and mildew, and then, you know, those are garbage. You don't want to be crafting or creating with anything that has mold or mildew for your own personal safety, and especially if you plan on gifting items that you've made, or you plan on selling things like that. So that's really important. So you just want to make sure that you have them laying out flat as possible so they can dry nicely and not be munched together in, you know, in a bundle, and then they get mildew and molds and all that gross stuff on it. So I think that's really all that I had to say, because there's not too much else to, you know, it's pretty straightforward, but that's it. So once I get this done, you're definitely going to be seeing some more tea bag projects coming up. And like I said, look for the link for all of these projects in the description box below. And if you have any further questions, you can leave me a comment below, or you can send me an email, and all my social media contact information is always in the description box below. If you have any tips that I didn't share, or maybe an easier way to do something, I'm always willing and love to learn from everybody out there that I possibly can. So I'd love it if you wanted to share that information, or if you've already done a video on it, if you want to leave a link to that video, or, you know, send it to me in an email or something like that. That'd be fantastic. All right, you guys, have a fabulous day. Stay safe and stay healthy, my friends, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.